Heidi-ho, this time from Idaho. We are just outside of Twin Falls. We actually started our exploring intentionally. It was a little bit of a scouting mission yesterday. So let us get you caught up on how we began.
Since we planned to kayak to Shoshone Falls the following day, our first stop was to hike to Pillar Falls. Reaching the falls by kayak requires a portage over the rocks, and before committing to the trip, we wanted to see exactly what we were getting ourselves into. Abby stayed behind for a post-travel nap while we headed out to scout the path. The trail was much steeper than we expected, and we found ourselves wondering how they managed to pour concrete on some of these slopes. Before long, we reached Pillar Falls and got our first look at the maze of basalt formations we'd soon be navigating with our 90-pound tandem kayak. We spent some time exploring the area and trying to determine the easiest route for the portage. As dark clouds built overhead and a few rumbles of thunder echoed through the canyon, we started paying a little more attention to the climb back out. About halfway up, we crossed paths with a porcupine that clearly wasn't interested in sharing the trail. Every time we tried to encourage it along, it responded by fanning out its quills. After a few rounds of backing off and trying again, it finally wandered far enough off the trail to let us pass.
Well, that scouting mission, even though the storms loomed overhead, they never really opened up. We stayed mostly dry and really enjoyed our evening. And the intention was to get up early this morning and then go to, Centennial Park?
Centennial
We're going to go to Centennial Park, get the boat washed. Alana will explain that to you in voiceover. And then hit the water and do sort of up where we had done some scouting there at Pillar Falls. We were going to do some portage and go up. The plan is still to do that, but we're not going to be able to do that today. Unfortunately, rescue is out looking for someone there in the water today, so we weren't able to make that paddle. So we're called an audible. We've come back to camp here. We've switched up to hiking gear. Not that I don't know that we have any serious hiking planned, mostly a lot of little stuff, but we packed up for basically a full day of exploring. So let's see what we get into now.
Our first stop was Shoshone Falls, where we explored several overlooks. While each offered a slightly different perspective, the furthest overlook ended up being our favorite. Reaching it wasn't quite as straightforward as we expected, since the options were either backtracking to the start of the Canyon Rim Trail or following an unofficial social trail that climbed up to it.
Abby, right? What do you think about that ground, Dad? Huh? Is that okay? You go see Mom? We're not sure about this ground. I can see through it.
Before leaving the park, we decided to explore the Dierkes Lake area. Originally formed from a rock quarry, the lake is now a popular recreation spot tucked alongside the Snake River Canyon. Rather than staying near the shoreline, we followed the trail climbing above the lake, where we were treated to a completely different view of both the water and the surrounding canyon. After taking in the views from above, we made our way down a surprisingly long series of staircases that carried us back toward the shoreline. Before finishing the hike, we took a short detour to a smaller lake that we hadn't even known was there, making for an unexpected end to our time in the park. stop was Perrine Coulee Falls, where parking is very limited. While the first steps have loose footing on the way down that requires a little attention, the reward comes quickly. One of the highlights is being able to walk directly behind the waterfall, offering an experience that most waterfall stops simply don't provide. We continue down the road a bit to the Mogensen Trail. The route follows the canyon floor beneath the Perrine Bridge, providing an entirely different perspective of the massive structure than we'd had from above. Along the way, we passed several waterfalls and reached the designated landing area used by the bridge's base jumpers, before eventually arriving at the river's edge. It was a fitting way to wrap up our exploration of the Snake River Canyon before experiencing it from the water.
You ready, Abby? Ready to push off? This is the part you like the least. Finally on the water here from Centennial Park. Not complaining. Yesterday it was really very enjoyable. The thing is, we're likely to see pretty much a lot of the same stuff, just from a different perspective here today. That's okay. I think we had planned doing it one way and then the other anyway. The real problem with today is they're forecasting some high winds later today, and this waterway, talking to the AWOL team who runs some of the trips here, it just can get a little dicey depending on where the wind direction's coming from. As it picks up, it'll be an advantage to us if we're making our way back, but then it moves to the south, and this canyon runs sort of east-west. And with it running east-west, you never know how the wind drops into the canyon and whether that becomes a problem or not. That being said, we're going upriver, so hopefully we'll have the flow at least on our side on our way back. Let's get some paddling going.
Before launching, our kayak was inspected as part of the area's efforts to prevent the spread of the invasive quagga mussels that had previously been detected in the river. While we didn't have to have the hot wash performed, timing to do so should be planned. Passing beneath the Perrine Bridge offered a perspective few visitors get to experience before we eventually arrived at Pillar Falls. It was finally time to find out whether the portage we had scouted 2 days before was as challenging as we anticipated. After carrying the kayak over the rocks and getting back on the water, we continued upstream to Shoshone Falls, where we were able to experience the waterfall from the water.
Not too impressed there, huh, Abby? Not too impressed? Just chilling. Just chilling.
After spending some time at the falls, we turned around and began the trip back downstream. Before tackling the return portage, we took the opportunity to explore Pillar Falls on foot a little more and get a closer look at the formations that make the area so unique. Once we had finished exploring, it was time to carry the kayak back across the rocks one final time. With the hardest part of the day officially behind us, we paused for a well-earned snack before paddling downriver. As we approached the bridge, we watched two base jumpers preparing for their descent. The first appeared to land exactly where intended, while the second followed shortly after and seemed to have a more unintentional and dramatic descent. It certainly made for an exciting few minutes before we continued back toward the dock. They do require your boat to have a hot wash before leaving the park, so keep that in mind when packing up.
Just like that, another destination is complete. It's a wrap. It is time for us to move on and north. We had a good time here, but we're looking forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks for following along.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Ho, ho, ho! Did you see that?